everyone. My name is Diana. I was just trying to stop dancing because I love that lead-in music. It gets me excited. I recruit permanent corporate services roles on our charities team here at Beaumont People. Today, I have with me Brianna, who recruits temporary contact and call center support roles on our commercial team. Welcome to Ask Me Anything. This is a 10-minute power session where we'll be discussing all things recruitment and answering any questions that you may have. Don't worry, if we don't get to your answers today, we'll follow up later on. So, Brie, why don't you lead us in? What's our topic today?
Today's topic is rejection, a difficult one, but we'll be talking to you about how to handle it and some advice and best practice tips of what to do when it happens. So I'm going to throw to you, Diana. What are some hot tips that you do and take when it comes to rejection?
Well, look, let's be honest, rejection is never nice and it's never easy, but it's never a lost cause either. So we're going to break it down into 3 key points. What to do in the moment is what we're going to start with right now. So when you are getting rejection, my first piece of advice as to what to do in the moment is breathe before responding. Don't take it personally or try to argue or defend yourself. I know that's everybody's first instinct. I know my partner who's not online would probably say that about myself too. Try to resist and stay strong. Some pretty common feedback I get from clients, and probably the most common feedback that I get from clients post-interview, is about candidates not showing active listening skills or not answering the questions asked. To be honest, it's pretty common to do that in an interview environment because you're so focused on what you're going to say next. However, just take a moment to digest that feedback or any other feedback before you respond. Why is your reaction so important? It's so important because it can actually impact your future reputation with that recruiter or hiring manager or whoever is giving you that feedback. How ironic would it be to reply to feedback that you need to work on your active listening by not listening? So having a growth mindset and being open to feedback is actually a really important soft skill that many, and I'd say if not all, hiring managers or recruiters are looking for. So while, again, being rejected is never nice and it's never fun, that's actually your opportunity in the moment to display that you do have those soft skills that are in such demand. So keep the disappointment private, ask for constructive feedback, but before you do any of that, just breathe. Brie, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have anything to add?
Totally right, Diana. Rejection is never easy, and it is so important to take that moment to breathe and really do take it on privately. I guess this will lead us into what to do in the future. And for me, with any situation when it comes to rejection or lessons learned, is to really learn from it. Note down exactly what the reasons were so you can take steps moving forward. That could be enrolling in some short courses if the feedback was that you lacked the technical skill, or if you didn't perform well in the interview. Maybe practice before you go to that interview, whether it's from your family, stuffed animals, a pet, your cat, your dog, a fish, if you don't have one of those, and really take the time to understand the business as well that you're going to be interviewing with. First off, we all jump to a website, but how about checking out some social media channels, maybe their Facebook, their LinkedIn, and really get to know them and practice that before jumping in. And look, rejection is never, ever a reflection on anybody as a person. And I know it can be hard to take the emotion out of it as we all had our egos get hurt. But however, sometimes it just isn't about you. And there are so many other factors that are outside of your control. What a lot of candidates don't think about is the behind the scene elements to why they may not be suitable for a role. And it could be that you were overqualified, or maybe they need a more senior member to join the team as the rest of the staff are juniors. Potentially the position's been open for a really long time as well. Sometimes you just never know, and it's best not to jump to conclusions. The most important thing to remember during any interview process is whether you're successful or not, is that this is an opportunity to network with the interviewer or your recruiter and build a relationship for future roles. It's never an opportunity missed or wasted.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing some growth mindset fans in the chat. Again, I see some potential recruiters in there as well. So definitely that's a skill, I think, on demand. And it's not really what happens in the moment, but as Bree just started to get into, I think it's also about what you can do in the future. Networks are so important. So I've met and placed candidates that I've initially met and placed 2 years or 1 to 2 years later. So just keep in mind, and this is blending, I think, both of our first and second points, what to do in the moment and how to actually harness that rejection to your advantage in the future. An opportunity that you've been rejected for is actually never going to be an opportunity wasted, as long as you can learn from it and as long as you can also potentially build your network from it as well. So I think that's just also really important to keep in mind. Bree, have I missed anything there? I don't want to steal the spotlight on your
No, I
point.
think we certainly covered off all the roles and points I wanted to make there.
Absolutely. Oh, terrific. And see, that's me asking for feedback. But before we go on to our last topic, and I'll say last but certainly not least, I think when you are planning what to do in the future, you have to be strategic about that. What do I mean by that? How do you approach what to do moving forward in the future? So that's just going to be our last and our final point. I know we have a lot of information and we're trying to keep it to 10 minutes. But if you are rejected, and it happens to all of us, try to review your actual job search process as well. For example, and just to break that down a bit further, are you getting rejected before even getting a phone call? So are you applying for multiple roles, and are you just getting that simple email rejection that before even getting a chance to speak to somebody and I don't like to say sell yourself, but form a new relationship? Are you potentially getting rejected after a phone screen and not getting to the interview stage? Or are you getting rejected after the interview stage? If you can drill down on where you're finding the biggest road bumps, we'll say, then you can actually target your approach in the future. So just really briefly, if you're getting rejected at the application stage, firstly, are you applying for the right roles? Are you applying for a CFO role when you're a graduate accountant? Are there typos or formatting issues on your CV that you might have missed the first round? And when a lot of people are looking for attention to detail as a soft skill, again, those might not deliver the best first impression. Is your cover letter addressed to the right person for the right role? That's a big one. Those are some common mistakes that I see. And yes, unfortunately, some of those can lead to that email rejection. Now, are you getting rejected after what in recruiter lingo we would call a phone screen, but an initial phone call or an initial phone interview? Well, then you may want to work on your approach there. If you can't speak, if you're outside or in a noisy environment or in a meeting or distracted, don't answer the phone. If you're actively applying, just call the number back. Or if you just woke up and maybe it was a wake-up call as well as a phone screen and you're sleepy, same thing, don't answer and call them back. Again, these are some really common things that I encounter in my day-to-day. And again, they may not give off the best first impression. They may lead to rejection. So treat a phone call like a first stage or a first initial interview, because again, that's going to potentially get you to that interview. Now, again, if you do get to that interview and you're finding that you're going to multiple interviews and you're getting, unfortunately, that feedback or that rejection after, you may need to change your approach there. Now, Bree might be using her stuffy or her pet fish to practice with. You may have somebody else, but really listen to that interview feedback. The number one feedback that I get is either candidates aren't articulate enough in speaking about their experience, or they're overly detailed in their answers, and again, not answering that question asked. So I think everybody loves to be seen as an expert. Don't be afraid to ask somebody to share their wisdom. Sorry, Bree, I know I can get off track. I'm very passionate about that, but what are your final thoughts? Do you have anything else to share?
You've certainly shared a lot of great tips, so I'm sure everyone will appreciate that. I think the last thing that I want to say is when you are asking for feedback, it really is all about timing. You never want to ask for feedback realistically if you've just received an email rejection. You never had a conversation with somebody about a position or your resume or your experience before. So it might not be the right time or place to ask for that feedback. feedback. It's always best to ask someone after you've actually had a conversation or started the interview process, and be really mindful about how you ask for that feedback as well. Like we said earlier, you never ever want to come across as defensive. Well, you know what, everybody, Diana and I hope that you've all found something really useful out of today. And please don't hesitate to jump to the Beaumont People website if you have any questions. Any of our consultants would be more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.